Good morning. I am your professor, Dr. Kelly, Dr. Brian Kelly. Nice to meet you for the next 8 weeks. The shorter of sessions, right? Within the fall 2021 semester. I truly hope all is well. Many of you are probably engulfed in your other studies with other classes that began in late August, early September, etc. And because we're the best and we're last, right? We start our 8-week little learning journey today, November 2nd, 2021. And what better way to meet each other than going over a bridge? A major bridge in one of the boroughs in New York. I don't know. What's the relevance? I'll blend that in. There's always a method to the madness. All seriousness, ladies and gentlemen, this is just a little ice-breaking video. Rather than audio or rather than no video, I will give a narrated video at least once a week until you're sick of me to the point of nauseam. No, I just find it a little more engaging because we're not live. We're not live in person, right? We're not live synchronous. And based on our asynchronous platform, I just wanted to open up, aside from other components of excuse me, Unit 1 that you'll see. I just wanted to open up with a, hey, how you doing? And a little chat in regards to not our course from an overarching standpoint. That'll be my other, more formal video. This is the more informal video where you get to know me a tad, but I'll just hit on some components of the concept, the framework, and the phenomenon known as security crisis management. Okay. I've already uploaded, and you're going to roll your eyes in the beginning when you see it, but once you start listening to it, it's pretty vivid and pretty clear and transparent in regards to what security crisis management is, right? We have a lot of courses in this track for a Homeland Security track at Mercy that have like technical titles, maybe intriguing course titles, maybe even confusing and vague course titles, right? Security crisis management versus security risk management, national infrastructure systems. You know where I'm going with this. So that's why I wanted to make a more definitive, relegated, informal video to break some things down, okay? And you're all smart, and I know this because I did your background checks. Just kidding. I do background checks for a living in my other life. But you are all smart, or else you wouldn't be in my classroom. And I mean that. And I'm gonna probe you. You're gonna participate in the next 8 weeks. As much work and as much you have going on, and I know you got stuff going on. It's a work-life balance, right? That's what it's about. If we don't know how to balance things, here we go. If we don't know how to balance life, if people and organizations do not know how to balance a little thing called life, crisis could occur, right? If, when eating my breakfast this morning, which was one huge chicken cutlet divided up, and I got this place in, I'm not going to tell you exactly where I live, but it's not far from where I live. It's about a quarter mile, which is nothing, from where I live. And they make the best. If you like chicken cutlets, I make good chicken cutlets. But if you like chicken cutlets, and I'm 47, they may have the best chicken cutlets I've ever had, or at least the best chicken cutlets I've had in, honestly, about 25 years. And I'll drive for days to find a good chicken parm if I can locate it. But what's the crisis? There is no crisis. There would be a crisis if, when I made my little chicken cutlet sandwiches, because breakfast is important, I divided my huge chicken cutlet. It looked like both of my hands put together. That's how big it was. My bulldog loves them. And I divided it up and put it on two little, and I kind of feel funny saying this, but not really. Sometimes when you're in a jam, time-wise or just convenience-wise, you don't have the best of everything. So I had the best chicken cutlets, but I didn't have the best bagels, right? We know different places that have awesome bagels, right? If you like bagels. I'm old now, so I get like these low-carb everything bagels from this place called Lenny's, who has like 5 different bagel places. The guy's probably like a multimillionaire. God bless him. So I put so if I had my traditional or my normal low-carb bagel, because I'm watching my physique, you know, I would have put scallion cream cheese on it. I don't know if you like that. And don't judge me. Maybe even some bacon and egg with the scallion cream cheese. And don't judge me even more, maybe even ketchup. Ooh. But anyway, I didn't have my Lenny's bagels. I had these, like, you know, those knockoff frozen bagels, what do they call them, Lenders? I don't even think they were Lenders. I think they were like Acme. So, as I was half asleep, getting my coffee in the kitchen, I threw 2 little Acme bagels, frozen, in the toaster oven. And to make you laugh, I think I put them on air fry. And they came awesome. And because I'm watching my physique, I melted Irish butter called Kerrygold on the outside with a little garlic powder. I'm doing this at 5:30 in the morning, by the way, because I'm a classically trained chef. And I put the chicken cutlets on there before I left. They were still a little warm. And don't judge me. I threw some mayo on. I know, that's weird, right? It's all what you like. It would have been a crisis if, and I know this is going to sound silly, if I ate like my friend John. My friend John, he doesn't chew. He's like some of those competitive eaters. Do you ever see a competitive eater like Matt Stoney or Joey Chestnut or I want to say Yakibono, the fella from Japan? Amazing. They don't even like eat the hot dog. They like shove it down their throat and drink water. I don't know how that is functional. It would have been a crisis if I took my entire chicken cutlet bagel and shoved it in my mouth and tried to pull that, because I'm not capable of doing that. Some people are. I just told you, some people are. So that would have been a personal crisis. So the last 10 minutes about food all led up to how it could have been a crisis. But I also told you it could have been a crisis if what? Right? Compare it to the previous example. Or let's compare that to a new example, rather. Let's keep it moving. Right? Halloween. Was anybody anything for Halloween? Do you know the Hutch Parkway that runs all the way up through Westchester there? Of course you do. Well, on Halloween, on the Hutch, on the Mount Vernon Yonkers, Mount Vernon Eastchester border, a car went off the overpass. You know an overpass? Like when you're driving and then you got the overpass roadway above you. It's not a bridge, it's just a roadway, right? My daughter, she calls everything a trestle. She thinks everything's a trestle. No, that's an overpass roadway. It's not a train trestle, right? The car went flying like Dukes of Hazzard. Said a prayer for the person. Flipped the car onto the roadway with oncoming traffic. Slight crisis, right? Human and vehicle off roadway aerial, God knows how high up, combined with that rate of speed, combined with going down onto another roadway with oncoming traffic. And I don't know what the volume was at that time, but those cars are going 60, 70 miles an hour, right? I mean, it's like a torpedo. That's a crisis. So can anything be a crisis? Well, there has to be conflict, right? There has to be... Sorry, it's a little dark. I'm on a service road, soon to be back in some light, but go with the audio for now. I think you could do without seeing my face. Won't mess your day up. Intense conflict. Now, does it have to involve some of the components I involved? Like I just described the whole food thing. If you read between the lines, I think you understood that I was going for like self-deprecating choking, like almost forceful attempt at choking. Well, yes, that's a crisis because that's a health crisis, right? Because a lot of our crises, plural, are what? Compartmentalized by a genre or a vertical, like an industry, right? Who would assist me? Well, a first responder, God forbid, and then, if other types of damage were done, because a lot can happen if you're choking, right? I'm still in the choking thing. Then it would become like a health crisis, right? Because it's an individual's health, and then I'm getting treated by medical personnel long term if the damage and harm, right? When I teach other subjects, such as different aspects of crime and criminality, in particular, fraud and deception, I have like a couple wheelhouses in my background. And fraud, for instance, when we think of fraud, which does, and you'll see, play into security crisis management, but right now I'm just using it as a very simple concept. The harm in fraud, is it physical? No, over 95% of the time, there's no physicality in fraud. Emotional? Yes. High probability of emotional harm. Financial? Yeah. It's engulfed around financial harm. So we need harm for crisis. It could be individual-based harm. It could be self-induced harm. It could be external controlled harm, right? Harm and damage. Now, does it have to involve some of the components I've been hitting on just now? Some of the more catastrophic. Does it have to be catastrophic? No. For instance, could a crisis be in 1996, prior to entering law enforcement, because I was a law enforcement officer for 14 years. I don't know if my bio's there. Like and subscribe my channel. Just kidding. I'm at my bio in Blackboard. Anyway, I started law enforcement at 20 years old is my point. just prior, like you, I was sitting in a classroom in New York at the undergraduate level over at one of our competing schools, St. John's University. And in my second to last semester, I had like 5 classes. Don't do what I did. My senior year, I had to really bulk up my semesters to 5 and 6 classes my last year, and that wasn't smart. I stand corrected. It wasn't my last year. It was just before I was like to make you laugh, like a third semester junior, if there is such a thing. And I had a class called Public Speaking, which I would advise everybody to take. I know you won't, but you need it. Because public speaking is a hard skill now. It's not a soft skill. But I did not have the confidence and tenacity and whatever other attributes allow somebody to be a good public speaker. And this isn't public speaking right now. We're in a very informal, using a very informal format and modality right now. I'm talking to a phone, but I'm talking to you. And we're not in a formal setting, which public speaking is to be known and attributed to. And long story short, I was petrified at that time to go to this class and get up in front of people because the assignments were not written. Well, some of them were. You'd have to write like different blurbs, but then the real assignment was to get up and speak and use tools that the professor would provide. And he was a great professor. He was actually like a theater guy, an actor, but he was also a communications guy. So I went to like the first couple classes, never volunteered to stand up and talk, which, thank God, is quite the opposite of who I am now. But I'm giving you some life lessons here. I was so petrified that I ducked that class for 90% of the semester. I popped in here and there, but I definitely ducked the majority of the semester and did not complete the majority of the assignments, which led for me to approach what would be another academic probation prior to me getting my stuff together, if you know what I'm saying, academically. And just as I was on the verge of failure, and I kept this from my parents, but then they eventually found out, plus I also came clean about it. And my parents were like, well, we got to do something about this. And it was me who had to do something about it. So I came clean to the professor. I'd advise you to do that because people can read through you. Use proper candor. When you don't use proper candor, that causes crisis. Okay? Anything from this little informal session today that's already at 19 minutes and 31 seconds, if you could take a couple things from it related to the course and unrelated to the course, I've done my job. If not, I'll continue to do my job until you get it. Because that's what I do. I have one speed. It's 200 miles an hour. So, I basically went to him what you call hat in hand. Everything but taking a knee, begging him. And I said, Professor, look, I screwed up. I created this crap storm of scenarios, not only for me, but for you. Because when you do that, you're forcing a human, you're forcing their hand to make a decision that sometimes discretion is used, but sometimes based on timelines and other variables. Discretion that would normally be used, a lot of it may have went out the window, but I think I got a little lucky, and I prayed about it, and it worked out because he gave me some chances, and boy, did I have to make up for it in regards to those speaking assignments. And it taught me huge lessons, as you can probably imagine and maybe even relate to here and there. But I created, right? Okay, so I adapted, and I deterred an F or a D from hitting my transcript. I got a C, but I was well on my way to failing that. And if I had failed that course as a third semester junior, I would have been out of that university. And I had like 2 senior years, so it took me 5 years to graduate. And I don't advise that path. But I got my stuff together pretty quick after that, real quick. And that was a self-induced crisis. So can we self-induce crises? Of course. How about losing a loved one, a pet, a friend? Those are horrible things. I have no problem telling you. I'm a tough guy, but I'm the softest tough guy you'll ever meet. I have an extreme fear of loss. An extreme fear of loss. I've lost people in my life, and I fear loss. So anything that does have any value, especially strong value to me, obviously family, pets, friends, I hold dear to me. With that said, that would be a crisis for me. Certainly. And on the flip side, and yes, crisis, stand by. As you see, we're traveling here. Lots of volume in the morning. I got this nice device that I just touched the screen. Okay, we're back. Had to readjust the seatbelt. Kind of tight. Drink a lot of seltzer. Back to crisis. Crisis can be traumatic. Not everybody handles trauma or views trauma the same. I just spoke about a fear of loss. Some people have zero fear of loss, or some people have a fear of loss, and I've seen this in people because I was a law enforcement officer. And the immediate loss of whatever that is occurs, and then some people not long after can recover quick, almost very cold and stoic. Some people can't. Some people are traumatized for life. And once again, trauma is an offshoot of crisis. You need the crisis first, right? Crisis in home, crisis at work. That's from an individual standpoint. Can we self-propel crisis? Yes. I like to believe that if we prepare, and as you'll learn in this course, preparation, right, can quell crisis. Preparation across numerous verticals, right? In security risk management, there is one concept that will overlap here by way of the word risk, because risk can never be alleviated. There's risk in everything. There's risk literally waking up in the morning, and there's risk going to bed. And my point is, there's risk in everything. Everything we do. Think about it. However, I'm not telling you to do this with every little thing in your life, but it is important to have a thought process when it comes to risk, because risk is a component of crisis, right? Crisis is here. Risk is often preceding it, before. The trauma is on the opposite end of the spectrum, right? So it's kind of like that overarching middle, right, pulse. And we have the variable of risk on the left before, at, like, if we were talking like an alphabet, at A, and at Z, what will we have? Trauma. Risk is divided into 3 areas based on my training experience and research. Okay? And this is not an ideology. I don't preach ideology. I just instruct curriculum. Risk. Risk should be, but is not always, as we know. The less risk is assessed, right? The less risk is assessed, the higher our chances, our probability are for crises. Okay, let me shift this phone. Furthermore, if we do not mitigate, what the heck does that mean? If we do not mitigate risk, our risk increases tenfold, and we've proven that we cannot demonstrate our knowledge of risk in and of itself, but most importantly, things to deter offsets of taking a risk, right? Hiring an employee without doing a background check. I don't care what industry you're in. Bad move, high risk, regardless of the position. Why? Because it just brings on a sense and concept of liability that you don't need as an individual or organization. So what is mitigation? Mitigation is putting forth knowledge and action, skills and abilities, right? Using resources and intelligence gathering to decrease liability, increase accountability, and do what? Quell the sense of risk being heightened. Another example of risk mitigation, which, if not mitigated, could lead to a crisis. Does all risk lead to crisis? No. Of course not. Thank God. But it often does too. Okay? It's based on probability, not certainty. Right? And we'll talk more about probability and certainty in this course a lot. So let me start wrapping this up a little bit. And watch this whole video. I should have mentioned that in the beginning, because you may have a discussion question based off of this video, even though it's introductory. And it's my, hey guys, nice to meet you video. After we mitigate and do everything we can to decrease, right, the opportunity or chances of engaging in what we will come to know as a crisis, we need to analyze, risk analysis. We need to analyze what we assessed, what we mitigated, how we did it, and why. Did it work? Could we do it better? I believe you could always do something better. I believe there's a solution to every problem. And problems, as you'll see when you go into this field. They're never ending. At least the curveballs are. I stand corrected. The curveballs are never ending. That's life though, right? You know that. Okay. So I talked trauma, I worked backwards, got to risk, to paint a better picture of crisis. So when it comes to crisis, we need to be able to manage it. Now, there's people in this world who are in charge of managing people, places, and things. I'm not going to go into right now, the difference between managing and leading, or management and leadership. Because there's definitely a difference, but now's not the time or place for that. Because I just want to drive home the message to the framework that is built upon, that this course is built upon, okay? We have crisis, we have what makes crisis. We have effects and impacts of crisis, right? We talked about that. We need to be able to, people, places, and things need to be managed. If you do not effectively manage them, what will happen? Crisis could occur, and could occur at different levels, right? Levels that we don't want to know, 9/11 type levels, right? That's catastrophic levels. No good. Now we throw in the word security to conclude. How's that? I didn't even start out with it. We're ending with it. Because you know why? It's the least complex of all the terms built into the title of this course. When we throw security crisis management in, now security becomes the adjective. Security is now describing the type of crisis to be managed, right? And as you know very well, being a student in this program, security and its components and classifications and typologies, what type of security are we talking about? Well, right now, just the overarching, what's called enterprise security. Enterprise security is all things security. Homeland security, corporate security, cyber security, right? Physical security, technology, etc. Right? So we throw the word security in there. It's no longer a noun or a verb. It's an adjective describing the framework, right? But it's also allowing an audience to know that this type of crisis management is occupational, however, could impact what? Your residents, right? Your residents, other things like that. But from an overarching standpoint, we're going to approach it more from an occupational aspect, okay? Security crisis management. I go into New York City 3 times a week. Who cares? You shouldn't. However, if we're just keeping it real, by me going into New York City 3 times a week for work, based on my training and research and knowledge and skills, I increase my risk of, or I may increase my risk of becoming a victim of crime a little higher than not going in and staying in Upper Westchester. Or whatever, not Upper Westchester, where I am in Westchester. Okay? Being somewhere at a certain time in post 9/11 times, because we're going to approach this a little bit from pre and post 9/11 too. If you go to a rock concert or a concert of any kind, rap concert, rock concert, a concert, right now, I don't know, dare I say this, but if you're around massive crowds, I don't know. It could increase our chances of engaging in a crisis. Look at the crisis we are still in. We came out of a pandemic, but we're feeling the other ancillary secondary effects, right? Physically, emotionally, and economically from the pandemic. So, of course, being in certain places, perhaps a huge crowd like that, I don't know. I'm not that type of doctor, right? I only go by what's available to me. So, furthermore, that example in and of itself, the pandemic, of course it was a crisis. Look at how everybody was impacted. I don't care who you are. Each and every one of you, me, everybody we know, the world. It's not all of, this was historic. And I don't say this with the happiest of tone, but you got to see something that many humans will not see, even my 7-year-old daughter. You saw the world, the entire... How often is an entire world affected by a crisis? And as you see, the world does not operate as one unit. It operates as multiple units, hence different personalities and different rules and policies and personalities that drive the rules and policies operate differently, hence manage differently. That's why there's management styles. It's just how it is, right? So hopefully in this last 38 minutes, sorry about that, you were able to wrap your head around the curriculum-driven messages in which I attempted to deliver to you on our first day of class today. And I look forward to some more formal instructional videos, as well as some of these videos that are less formal and may include some of my corniness and comedic zest. How about that? Comedic zest. Or my attempt at it. My family certainly doesn't think I'm funny 75% of the time. I got them 25%, I think. It's what it is. So, with that said, people, you're not even up yet, probably. I started this video at 6:15 a.m. I hope you're not up, because that would mean you have to get going. When you're old, you get up. I got up at like 4:30. But anyway, I think you get the gist of this, okay? What are you going to see in Unit 1? There's already one video there I mentioned. You'll see another situational video there, obviously, that is all-encompassing of attributes of security crisis management by way of other ancillary examples. And you'll have a discussion based on this video, and maybe a very, very, very small assignment where you literally have to write 3 sentences, which is from where I come from in grammar school in West Orange, New Jersey, way back when. A paragraph is 3 to 5 sentences. I don't think I needed to tell you that, but whereas a lot of my instruction and knowledge comes from field experience. Academic experience comes from a multitude of things that I've gathered throughout my life, as it does for you, and will continue to do so. All down to the relegated one paragraph. What is a paragraph? So anyway, you may see a small little assignment where you'll have to assess, not risk, but assess a video, because you can assess anything, right? And give me your interpretation and reaction in regards to the crisis that occurred. And that's another thing. That's another good thing. When somebody, like a professor like me, asks you for your reaction or interpretation based on your perceptions, it's really hard to get it wrong, and really hard to not get all the points that you are to be awarded for submitting it. Always note that. If somebody asks for your reaction or interpretation based on your perceptions, unless you show a radical bias, but even if you did, which is unprofessional, we don't do that, but it's based on your interpretation and reaction, it's really hard to get it wrong. How do you grade somebody's interpretation unless you're talking about Buffalo Wild Wings and I'm showing you Philly cheesesteaks? Obviously, I got more food on my mind, right? So, unless you're in a parallel universe, you're going to do great this semester. And I do want some interaction. I'd love to, last thing, as we approach 43 minutes, I'd love to have at least one live session with you. If we could all get on the same page this semester. So what I'll do is, probably at the end of week 1, just to start gauging it, I'd love to have a midterm live session and base our midterm exams off of a live lecture in which we all get to just chat about subject matter and stuff like that. It's all about sharing knowledge. Learning from me, I learn from you. Driving points home. Meeting objectives, meeting goals. That's life, right? That's life. You go to a nice restaurant, you met a couple goals. You got there, and you're there to enjoy what you went there for. You go to Great Adventure, higher risk, for a multitude of reasons. But it's about the positive, not the negative. See, I'm a little jaded. I've seen a lot of things in my career, and I'm older than you. So I evaluate risk at a higher level. That's okay. You'll get there. Nonetheless, I made this video because I wanted to make it. I made it for you. I didn't make it for me. And my objective was to introduce myself, to put you at ease, if there was any reason to not be, which there isn't, but just to share my personality with you a little bit and just share some knowledge and content with you. And hopefully it wasn't unbearable. And I'll put a survey out end of the week, and it'll be like a slightly ongoing survey for maybe 2.5 weeks, where I'll remind you to submit an answer and then see if we get the majority of you, if not everybody. I want everybody to be on board with maybe one live session, because I do get clearance to have live sessions because it's not mandatory, it's voluntary, and I think it benefits everybody, you know? And if we could do more than one, great. But once again, unmandated, and it's okay. So that is that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to grab another coffee because I've only had 3/4 of one today, and that just won't do the trick. That is high risk for performance for me, or lack thereof. if I do not grab another coffee in the next 15 minutes. I need another coffee. That happens when you get old too. All right? Have a great day. I'll upload this video to Blackboard and another more instructional video, way less in time than this one, and we'll take it from there. All righty? Excellent. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.